Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I will miss everybody here. It's with mixed emotions that I go. And I have enjoyed working with this board and the previous board, and my colleagues will be greatly missed by me. And yes, I will always be back to Mendocino County in one way or another. I'll be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's very reassuring.
So with that,
okay.
you have some questions in regards to item 7A.
Yeah, you want to just make a brief
Sure.
introduce the item?
If I can state, Supervisor McCowan had some questions, and so did Supervisor Smith in regards to the Medco contract. I think the primary question was, why is it 2 years late? And so I did provide to the board members late last night, and I have hard copies that I gave to the clerk this morning, with a very detailed explanation by Mercer. Mercer is our health plan consultant who assists the county in managing these large contracts. And so he did provide for an explanation, he being Board and Darm of Mercer. Ms. Furman, you did pass those on to them?
Yes, they received them last night, and they've been made available to the public.
Okay, so they have them. Okay, great. So with that, if I can just quickly go through it, there was a series of occurrences that took place in regards to delaying this contract. So it is an unusual delay in a contract. For a contract to be delayed in general is not unusual with this type of contract. And services do continue on because they do have an obligation per health insurance guidelines and requirements to continue to provide services to plan participants for medical reasons. It's covered under ERISA and HIPAA and those sorts of things. So an extension of a contract without signatures is not unusual in general. Specifically with this contract, as Mercer states, we did request that they renew the contract. Mercer goes out for bidding for us. We don't do that. They do that. They review vendors, and through that process they determined that Medco was still the best vendor for us to access for our prescription drug care. Then there was an addendum that took place in that process to the January 04 contract, at which time I was not part of the administration of the health insurance program at that time. So the health insurance program changed hands from the risk manager and myself. Mercer, the Board and Darm left Driver Alliant to Mercer. So there's just a number of different things that took place in that 2004 year. And so the addendum was worked on, and it wasn't realized till later on when we started doing the health plan audit that we did participate in last year, that Medco realized, and Mercer and myself realized, that the current contract hadn't been signed yet. What had been signed is an addendum. So through that process, we realized that because there was an outstanding rebate that Medco owed us. When we were auditing the program, where's our rebates? Why don't we have them? And that's when we discovered a contract was not signed. But they were still providing us with very good services. We were still getting our credit for our rebates, although on paper. And we were also receiving our formulary communications as far as our prescription drugs. So everything was still intact as if we had a contract, a renewed contract. So in that process, we discovered all of this, and immediately I got the signatures as soon as I could, which was, I think I indicated November 6th. And I do believe there's a question by a board member as to why are we just now seeing it today. There is a process to get a contract through the county per Policy 1. I may be citing the wrong policy there. I'm not. That is Policy 1. Thank you, Christy. And so that process it's routed through a number of different areas. The risk manager has to approve it. County council has to approve it. The CEO's office is the steward of it, make sure it runs through all the processes. And then there's a timeline to get it onto the clerk of the boards, to get it onto the agenda. November 6th was past the deadline to get it to any board meetings in November. We didn't have very many in November or December due to holidays. Getting signatures from everybody is why you're seeing it today, because we finally got all the signatures and we got it through all the processes to get it to the board. So, and that especially during the holidays, is a difficult time to get agendas on the board, to the board, even though this was a consent item at the time. So that's just an explanation of why it took from November 6th till now to get it to the board. Just the processes that take place. I'm in the process of moving 2 more through that you will be seeing very soon. So I hope that answers your questions on the Medco contract and why it took as long as it did. The second question that was posed to me is, have we received any subsequent quarter funding, rebates from Medco? No, they're usually about 3 quarters behind. So once this contract is signed and we move forward, we will get the retroactive payments, and they will move forward to process the additional quarters. So Medco's usually about 3 quarters behind because of the lag in time in which claims are paid and rebates are received from their pharmaceutical companies that they work with. So we will be receiving them, and it's all put back into the health plan trust fund upon receiving it. And it is broken out, but to be by the retirement health plan and the employee health plan. So I can continue on with the next component, or if you have some questions right now.
Well, I'm assuming that the information that Mr. Supervisor McAllen requested was part of that, what he included. So, Supervisor McAllen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I am still a little curious about the rebate process because I understand the explanation that these contracts, once initiated, it's common for them to, in effect, roll over even prior to a formal signing of the new contract. And yet, according to the letter from Mercer, the rebates for the first 3 quarters of 2007 have been held up, and they seem to link that to the contract, but they don't mind accepting our payments, but we haven't received the rebate for the first 3 quarters of 07. And so that's considerably beyond the 3-quarter lag time that you've cited, and and in fact we're an additional 5 quarters beyond that now. So if it's only the 3-quarter lag time that accounts for the delay, we should have been receiving these funds. So I would have a question about whether we're really holding them to account for this or not.
Absolutely we are. And but in order to hold them to account for it, we do have to sign a contract. We do have to agree to the terms of the contract, and those contracts have been reviewed and approved by County Council and the CEO's office. And we will be able to hold them to that, absolutely. But we don't have any ability to do so without everybody signing everything.
But then why do we pay them if we have no contract? We pay them, and then the portion that is supposed to be rebated, they withhold. So there's no equity there.
We have to pay them. Again, these are our employees. This is a prescription drug coverage. Regardless of our issues with a contract, which is why I brought these before you, we are still responsible for the prescriptions of our employees. So we do have to pay for those, even if we were in dispute with Medco. There's some protections there for our employees. And I want to correct myself in regards to the rebates. We have received 2 rebate checks, and I do apologize for that. They aren't this amount for January. I mean for the 3 quarters in 07. But I do know that we have received rebate checks from Medco because they specifically asked if they wanted us to credit our account, and we said, and I stated no, we want to receive the check. So I do know that we've received one. I can't tell you which quarter it's for. I did not look before I came over here. So we have received one. So I want to correct myself on that.
Well, so again, that is inconsistent. Apparently they can pay one rebate but not the others. So it looks to me like they've been kind of using our money, and if there's any mechanism for them to pay us interest, they should. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Thank you.
Smith?
Well, to follow along with the discussion,